Hello, hello. This is Kesson Podcast Going Business Online with Christina. And today I'm so excited and super happy to have my amazing special guest speaker, Dr. Avan Misner, far away from America. Dr. Misner is the founder and chief visionary officer of BNI, Business Network International, the world's largest business networking organization, founded in 1985. The organization now has more and over than 11,400 chapters in 76 countries in the world. And Dr. Misner, PhD, is from the University of Southern California. He is a New York Times bestselling author who has written 30 plus books, and his new books, Infinite Legacy, and the 7 principles of creating a lasting impact with your life. So he called him father of modern networking by Forbes and CNN. Dr. Misner, welcome to our interview today.
Thank you, Christina. It's good to be on the show.
I'm so excited to have you again. And what I wanted to talk today is about, I have a few let's say, topics. But first, what I wanted to start is about BNI convention in Sydney, Australia this year. I mean, in November, if I'm sure.
What would you like to know?
Yeah, I would like to know what is the theme of vision? What is the topic of this BNI convention this year, and why Australia was chosen to be host country?
Well, the theme for this convention is beyond, taking your business beyond, taking BNI beyond. Australia was selected for a few reasons. First, Australia is beautiful. It's just an amazing country. I've been there many times. We've never had a international convention there. And so we were happy to do it. We also got a lot of support from the Australian government. And if you go to bni.com and you go to the convention page, you'll see, it was sponsored and supported by the NSW government, Business Events Sydney, and Business Events Australia. And when you get a country to be so open and receptive to a convention, it's much easier to do business in that area. So those are the several reasons why we chose Australia.
Oh, that's great. And I already, because I'm based in Southeast Europe, Serbia, Belgrade, we also have chapters here in Serbia and Croatia and Bulgaria and Hungary and others. So I really would love to I would really love to come this year. And Australia, to be honest, is the country of my dreams. So, and how does this convention this year align with BNI global mission? What do you expect from that convention? And let's say, what would be maybe you mentioned that, but what do you want it to be as a topic that people can speak and connect there and share about BNI globally?
Obviously, at all of our conventions, we have many speakers. We bring in outside speakers. We have speakers who are BNI directors. I will be one of the keynote speakers talking about networking. As a matter of fact, I'll be doing really my signature presentation. It's called Networking for Success. And I was asked to do that there. So we have a lot of speakers, but I think, an event like this, one of the big benefits is getting people together who are like-minded business professionals and who want to learn not only from the speakers, but from each other. That's an important aspect. So we do there's a lot of one-to-ones. There's enough free time where people can meet with one another and learn from each other, learn about their business and BNI, learn about their fellow chapters. So BNI conventions are not conventions where everybody's out playing golf. BNI conventions are where thousands of people show up and listen to speakers and then meet with each other individually. We also have a really fun part of all of our conventions where it's usually in the morning where every country it shows up, and they have a couple of tables with things. It's really themes from their country. And so, they'll if they have special clothing, they wear the clothing. If they have special drinks, they'll, bring the special drinks. If they have their flags, and you walk through the convention hall on those mornings, and you feel like you are, literally going from one country to another. It's quite an amazing experience.
Yes, and this is I really just can imagine how is that going, because when you mentioned that people can connect and do like a B2B to get to know each other, and in that way just build their business and
Right.
share it.
Right. That's the reason we started to do the conventions, was so that people can share knowledge and information and ideas, and hone their skills. And so we try to bring in good speakers to help do that, but also, um, you know, a lot of the feedback we get is the time that members and directors spend with each other.
Yes, and that's lovely. Just imagine people from all around the world who connect there, and
Yeah.
especially because we know that BNI sometimes we have and I attend sometimes as visitor something like like
Yeah.
online meetings. So that is so for BNI is to have meeting one. I mean, in general, in different countries.
Right.
Just imagine 76
The,
countries
the
and people.
majority of our countries, or chapters, have gone back to meeting in person. The last number I heard was 68% of the organization, of the 11,400 groups that you mentioned, are meeting every week in person. 16% meet online 100% of the time, although they do socials where they get together and can meet in person. And then another 16% are hybrid, where they meet in person once a month and they meet online the rest of the month. So we have all three, and we allow all three in the program. And the technology today, enables us to do that. I mean, look at us. You're in Europe, I'm in North America, and we can have a live, real time discussion via this technology. So the technology has been a game changer in allowing the organization to expand and grow.
And either that people don't meet each other, let's say in person, and do it hybrid, but they could be hybrid when they connect on convention and when they go there to
Yeah.
they get to know each other. I
Yeah, but
I
even
know
the
so
online
many
groups,
people who get
even the
married
online
from
groups,
example, for example, in BNI as friends.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
It's so lovely when people get married.
And they get married. Yeah,
They need to get to
we've
know each other and get family. Either that
that's
they
right. They
build
get
a
to know each other. They
business.
get married. We have a lot of BNI babies,
Yes, yes, this is.
people that met in BNI and end
I
up
just
having
want
children.
to mention that it's really
So
amazing.
the one other thing about the conventions that I really love, and if anyone's watching this and you're at all interested, I urge you to go to a BNI International Convention. It's like going to a United Nations event where all the countries love each other. I mean, it is just amazing to hear all the accents, all the languages, all of the different clothing, but yet we're all there for the same purpose, and that's to help each other increase each other's business through referrals.
And I really wish this year that this convention get more people to connect, to
Yeah,
love each other, to build a business, and to create something new, like you know, some new ideas. Maybe someone
yeah.
will write a book, someone uh, will do something
Well, I'll be
similar.
showing up with a new book. As a matter of fact, I'll have a book there that's brand new. It's called "Networking is a Marathon, Not a Sprint," and that
Mm.
book is coming out in about 5 days, and we should have it there at the convention.
Yeah, and I really have a pleasure. I'm so pleased to know about it in my podcast today that you mentioned that. If you can repeat, please, again, the title of the book,
Yeah,
your
yeah.
newest
Networking
book.
networking is a marathon, not a sprint.
Mm.
And by that we mean that it takes time. It's about building relationships. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme. It's a way to build a long-term successful business. And you have to treat it that way. You have to treat networking that way. It's about the long term, not the short term. And I think people oftentimes use networking as a face-to-face cold calling opportunity. Hi, my name's Ivan, let's do business, without even developing any kind of relationship and trust.
That's amazing, and people and entrepreneurs and BNI members will have chance to see your book on convention.
Yes.
And also for people who wanted to get to have your book, I think that they can find on your website or on Amazon or somewhere.
Well, it'll be on Amazon, but it'll also be at the convention. I'm donating, I think 100 or 200 copies to the BNI Foundation, completely donating them to the foundation. And so the BNI Foundation will have them at their table, and donations to the foundation will get you a book.
Yeah, that's great. Congratulations on your new book. I have the other question for you. It's about future of BNI. And my first question is, how emerging trends in referral networking and how BNI is evolving?
Well, if you're asking about what I see, are you asking about what I see as the next 5 years?
Yes, yeah, and I have also vision of the next 5 to 10 years of BNI. That will be the next question. So just maybe we can mixture it in that.
Well, sure. So I think that the role of AI, before we move into my vision for the next 5 years, I believe the role of AI, virtual chapters, the hybrid model is going to continue to be very important. And we're going to see probably more hybrid chapters evolve over time, because young people have no problem with the use of the technology. They're really comfortable with it. And so I think that it's very important that BNI, I believe that companies are either, they're either put out of business they're either disrupted or they lead the disruption. So I want to be a company that leads the disruption. And this technology, some people are like, well, I don't want to use it. Well, then you don't want to be in business, because the technology is going to disrupt the world. And so I'd rather, lead that disruption. And there are so many companies in the world that were disrupted by technology over time. My favorite is Kodak, the film company. Kodak actually invented the digital camera. They invented it. They owned the patent on the digital camera, but they decided not to produce digital cameras until way too late. And they licensed out the rights to the digital cameras to other people. And there was even, there's a memo that went around from a vice president at Kodak that said, we don't need to do digital cameras. It'll interfere with our film processing business. Besides, who's ever going to look at photographs on a computer? And obviously he was wrong, and they were wrong, and they were disrupted. And if you think about it, Kodak, had they seen what was possible, Kodak could have been the iPhone. They could have been what amounts to Apple. I mean, Apple did computers. Why would they get into phones? Kodak did film. They did cameras. So a phone with a camera is a natural, but they didn't see it. And so they were disrupted by it. And so my point is that we as a society and as business professionals are either going to allow ourselves to be disrupted by technology, or we are going to lead the disruption with technology and be at the forefront of our fields.
And when you mentioned, you answered in some way in my question, the role of AI and virtual chapters and hybrid networking models. Do you think, what is your opinion about when people, just like the older people, they need to learn about AI just to use it as a tool. But
Yeah.
there's going to be many new position, I mean business position for people. And do you think that in some way people will cut off with some kind of to 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 lose job? They need to learn about AI, and also what maybe BNI will do in that way to attract people and to
Yeah.
still use it hybrid model, or however AI only, or
Well, look, jobs will be lost and jobs will be created. The same thing happened with robotics. When robotics came out, there were many jobs lost, but there are also jobs that are created because of technologies that are introduced. It's just a different group of individuals. It was mostly blue collar workers who lost jobs and had to figure out other jobs that they could do it. With AI, it's going to be more white collar workers, office workers who will be challenged. But even then, AI doesn't necessarily mean it's going to replace a lot of jobs. It can enhance jobs. It can make the work that you're doing more effective. And so, yeah, I think some jobs will be lost, but it'll also increase effectiveness and new jobs will be created.
Yeah, that's like a something comes new, something this is
Yeah.
like in life, it's like a shifting
And,
something.
and we don't know what we don't know. I mean, it would be a little bit like saying in 1994, 1995, when the internet, the World Wide Web, was really starting to be recognized. It would be like saying to someone, "What's the World Wide Web going to be like in 20 years?" Nobody would have known. I mean, people would they'd have no idea that we would have this ability, what we're doing right now, that we would have, comprehensive websites where you could do downloadables, you have high speed broadband internet, you can stream movies and television. Nobody would have seen that 20 years ago. So I think we don't know what we don't know. And that's why it's important to embrace what we can so that we don't get disrupted in the process. And BNI, we're an in-person. We started as an in-person organization. People don't think of us with technology, but we've been an early adopter with technology since the beginning. You can't have a 3-letter domain if you're not an early adopter. We have BNI.com, and many of the BNI countries, BNI and the various countries. So you have to be an early adopter to technology to be able to get that kind of thing. And so I urge business people be early adopters to the technology, because if you're not, it's just going to leave you behind.
Either that you're running BNI 40 years, 40 years, I mean, like from
BNI,
1985.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. So we have been around for 40 years now. And the really, truly amazing thing about this organization is that we have had 40 years of consecutive growth. And there are not many companies in the world that can say that they have had 40 years, year over year over year over year, 40 years of consecutive growth. And it looks like our 41st year, the end of this year, will also be a growth year. Even during COVID, the BNI organization grew because people didn't know how to get business. Where do I go? I can't leave my house. And we transitioned all of our chapters at that time completely online. And we not only stayed in business, we grew during COVID.
And this
so
is
this is the example of what I mean is that don't allow your business to get disrupted. Embrace the technologies.
And
I'm sorry.
what I told that I mentioned that from 1985, just imagine how many challenges you for all those 40 years you need to overcome, to adopt, to so
Yeah.
that's the way how to impact business and be very supportive. I mean,
yeah, I don't need to imagine it. I lived it.
no, I just see, maybe I used the other word.
No,
So
you are
yeah,
absolutely right. It was massive. There were so many
for some
challenges.
people they need to imagine that because you
Yeah,
you
because
live
they have the
that. That's
experience.
true.
Well, I'm working on another book right now with Graham Y. Miller, who is the past CEO of BNI, is now executive chair. And the book is called Garage to Global. How do you take your business from your garage and turn it into a global enterprise? Because I started BNI out of my house. And today we're a global organization in, as you said, more than 75 countries. And so how do you do that? And in the book, we talk about the very thing you're doing. We talk about the problems that exist in trying to scale a business. And there are many, many problems. And hopefully we can help people avoid some of those problems.
And also you have your podcast.
I
I
do.
want just to say that there are many, many episodes. I mean, more than 10. When I saw 900 and more, I'm not sure.
Yeah,
But
900 and I think it's 960 some
yeah,
podcasts. Let me
yeah, it's
take a look here
amazing.
real quick. It's
So Dr. Misner, you're such amazing podcaster as well. Like
929 podcasts. Okay,
congratulations.
thanks.
And for people who listen for the first time, just go to the my ironmiser.com and you can find all those podcast episodes, so you can go there and
Well,
listen
that's
about
my blog.
amazing
The
topic.
podcast is at bnipodcast.com.
BNI podcast, yeah.
Yeah.
It's really a lovely talking to you today. I'm so excited. And next will be about referral marketing, like just like a
Well,
topic.
I'd love to do that, but would you like to hear a
Yeah,
little bit
I'm
about
going
my
just
vision,
this is a
my
third
vision
part.
of BNI
Yeah.
for the next 5
My
years?
first question is, what are the key principles of an effective referral marketing strategy? What are the key principles?
Yeah, I would love to touch upon that, but would you like me to talk about my vision for BNI for the next 5 years?
Oh yeah,
Because
sorry. Yeah.
yeah.
You can continue, finish that, and we will
Yeah,
go.
and then
Okay.
I'm happy to cover this. So I
Okay,
think
of
there are
course.
6 things that I see for BNI, and this is, I'll tell you why this is important. If you're not in BNI, what you need to think about is how you as an entrepreneur should be creating your own vision, and how the things that I'm about to talk about can apply in your business. So these are the things that that are on my 5-year vision plan. One is multiplying the client impact, or in our case, member impact, multiplying member impact. More members, more referrals, more business. How do we multiply that? How do we get members more business? You should be asking yourself, if you're listening to this or watching this, how can we impact our clients more effectively? How can we have a deeper engagement with our members, or with your clients? How can you have a deeper engagement with them through social media, through podcasts, through educational content, newsletters? That's the first thing. The second is expanding your footprint. And for BNI, it's expanding our global footprint. But any business should be taking a look at expanding their footprint, even if it's just within the city. How do you scale within your city? How do you expand that footprint within your city? But if you're really thinking big, how do you expand that footprint within your country? How do you expand it globally? So that's the second thing. The third thing is strengthening the culture. It's very important in any business that you have a real focus on culture. I believe culture eats strategy for breakfast. Culture is the secret sauce to an effective organization, any organization. So for BNI, our principal core value is givers gain. And if you're listening or watching this, you need to be confident of what your core values are, and you need to share those core values with all of your people. If you don't have core values for your business, your employees will create them and they may not be what you want. And so you need to have core values, and that continued focus for us is really important. The fourth item is something we've talked about already, and that is leveraging technology, leveraging data, leveraging technology. The fifth is partnerships and strategic alliances. That's where I think on our 5-year plan, it's important. And again, those of you watching this, you should be thinking about partnerships and strategic alliances with other businesses, and it can happen small.
Can you share with us about it, like just that people know what is strategic alliances, how to do that?
I mean, it starts with what I call power teams. And contact spheres and power teams. A contact sphere is a group of business professionals who are in a symbiotic relationship. They're in compatible, non-competitive professions. like a lawyer, a CPA, a banker, a business consultant. They all have similar clients. Now, that's a contact sphere. What you want to do is to create a power team out of that. So you may know 2 or 3 bankers if you're a lawyer. Pick one that you are really going to go deep and have a relationship with. And so you create these strategic alliances, and you can do it on a local level with power teams. With BNI, we're doing it on a global level, but anyone can do it on a local level. And you do it with compatible, non-competitive professions. And it might be a group of lawyers who have different specialties. And so they can be, in fact, compatible. My favorite is the florist, the photographer, the travel agent, and the wedding planner. I call that the wedding mafia, right? Once they bring you into the wedding, they don't let you out, and they refer each other. And so that's what I mean by strategic alliances on a local level. And I think the last thing is building a legacy. The truth is, your business is your legacy. Your life is your legacy. And if you want to leave a legacy in the world, I think you should consider this. We all have people who are in our story, people who have made a difference in our life. And I can tell you stories about these people, but that's not the most important thing for you to know, or for me to share even, although I think it's important to share. I think the most important thing is not who's in your story, but whose story are you in? I'm going to repeat that. The most important thing is not who's in your story. The most important thing is whose story are you in? Whose life have you changed in some positive way? That's about leaving a legacy. And that is certainly something that I want to do with my company, is to leave a legacy of help to hundreds of thousands. We now have, as of this morning, 347,246 members. I get a daily report on how many members we have. So we have over 347,000 members. So that's my 5-year vision for the company. And I think anyone can create that kind of vision for their company by looking at these ideas and applying them locally.
That's great. So yeah, I was I was asking you about, and this is really impactful, because just to think about how to use like AI models, BNI in 5 to 10 years, and this is really awesome, and I really wish to other companies to do it something like that, because this is something, if we don't have vision, how we can move forward. I mean, just without vision.
And I think a lot of people they're just in the day to day. It's just putting one foot in front of the other, and they don't really know where they're going, but they're speeding up. And if you don't know where you're headed, if you don't have a vision as to where you want to go, speeding up won't get you where you want to go faster because you don't know where you want to go. So you just end up someplace where maybe you don't want to be. So I think it's very important to have a vision. And does that vision, and I'm not talking about the vision statement, but a vision of a 5-year plan or something. You may or may not end up exactly where you set that vision, but by having it, you end up a lot closer, maybe even beyond it, if you do it right. And so creating goals and creating visions at all levels of an organization are so incredibly important.
Yeah, and you leave such amazing job, because you have chapters and BNI in 76 countries. That's really imposing. This is such a big, amazing thing. I mean, so
and a lot of people look at me and they'll say, yeah, but you're in 75 countries. Yeah, I started out of my garage. Okay, so I mean, I literally I had an office above the garage, and I had the garage where we put new member packets together. So I started very humbly. It was a very, very small operation. I had 2 part-time employees, and so when you look, sometimes people look at individuals who have had great success and they think, well, yeah, but you you have all these people working for you and everything, but it didn't start that way. I had a plan. I had to work the plan. I had to create a vision. And so anyone can do it. I have seen ordinary people do extraordinary things. And the only way they ever get there is by having a vision and working that vision.
And when you mention, either that you're going to write a book from garage to global. How you mentioned that? But also you will put in your legacy all your books and your garage and all those things. How you started to go global. I mean, that's impressive. And now you are as a father of modern networking. How Forbes and CNN called you. This is so true. Now, if I wanted to ask you some about referral marketing and how people can implement that, because you're father of referral networking, what are the key principles of effective referral marketing, and how do you create a culture where clients and partners naturally wanted to refer others to your business?
Well, it's a simple question. The answer is a 2-day training program.
But how we can
but
cover this on our time today?
I'll try and do it in just a couple of minutes. First of all, let me say we don't teach referral marketing in colleges and universities anywhere in the world. And so people feel like they're getting into business at a disadvantage, and they are, because our professors don't teach it. And they don't teach it because most full-time tenured professors in business have never actually run a business. So it's the adjunct faculty that have run businesses, but the full-time tenured professors in business haven't. And so it's not taught in school. And so my advice is listen to podcasts like this, listen to shows like this, where you can learn how to network. Pick up books. Probably my most popular book is Networking Like a Pro. Pick up Networking Like a Pro, but there are other people. Susan Rowan wrote How to Work a Room. It's a great book. Bob Berg wrote Endless Referrals. It's another great book. You want to learn how to network effectively. You gotta do your homework. And so, listen to things like the BNI podcast. You can only improve yourself if you educate yourself. And so how do you do these things? Well, I'll give you the first step. The first step is to have the right mindset, the right mindset. And the right mindset is that marathon versus the sprint concept. And people go into networking thinking it's a sprint and that they think it's about just handing out cards. What it is it's about building relationships. And I'm sure you've probably heard me talk about this before, but maybe your listeners haven't. It's the VCP process: visibility, credibility, profitability. So you go to networking meetings. You don't go there to close a sale. Okay? People think you go to networking meetings to close a sale. That's not where you go. You go to networking meetings to work your way through the VCP process. First, you got to be visible. People have to know who you are, right? So you go to these events and meetings and you become visible in the community. Then, and this is the part that takes a long time, you establish credibility. People will start to trust you. They'll trust you because they hear good things about you, or maybe they've worked with you a little bit and you've established credibility. And then and only then can you get to profitability, where people know who you are, they know what you do, they know you're good at it, and they're willing to refer business to you. And that's why it's a marathon, not a sprint. Now, can you possibly get a sale by just showing up at a networking meeting? Yeah, it's possible, but even a blind squirrel can find a nut. You'll stumble over business occasionally, but if you really want to get business through referrals, it's all about building relationships.
Yes, this is so important when you mention it's not sprint, because VCP is so important because people need to get to know you. And you said, and this is so true. And when I was in some B2B meetings, you give them business card and then that's it. Some people just remember you, some not. But or networking is all. People need to know you, who you are, and if they wanted to work with you. I mean, that's
yeah. I mean, if handing out cards was enough, my co-author of Networking Like a Pro, Brian Hilliard, I think he's got it in the book. If not, I know he and I have talked about it. He's got this beautiful Labrador dog. I think the dog's name is Brandy. And he said, if just giving cards out was enough and it would work, he said, what I would do is I would put a little cloth saddle on Brandy. And on one side, I would put a note that says, take my card here. And I'd put a bunch of my cards on one side of Brandy. And on the other side, I would have a note that says, put your card here. And I would just send Brandy into the room and let Brandy walk around, and everybody would pet Brandy, and they'd take a card, they'd put a card in, and Brandy would come on out, and I'd have a ton of cards. So what? So what? That's not building any relationship. So just passing out cards alone is only a little piece of the networking process. It's not the primary piece.
And when we talk about referral marketing, there are people who maybe are not in BNI,
Yep.
for example, they are maybe not in position, just to, how I can say it, to engage as a member at the moment, or just maybe go to some other, I wanted to ask as a referral in general, like not just the people can also network somewhere but
yeah, I mean, there are a lot of different
networking organization. This
Well,
is
again, in Networking Like a Pro and also in the World's Best Known Marketing Secret, I talk about different types of networks. And I urge people to belong to different types of networks, not just BNI, but a chamber of commerce, an industry association, a vocational organization, a social club, like a Rotary Alliance, Kiwanis, civic type of organization. Pick one of several of those. So you're in a chamber, you're in an association, you're in a service club, and of course BNI is
BNI as well,
a type of network that would be good.
of course.
And start small. Start where you can afford. You can afford the time, afford the money. Afford the time and afford the money. Start small and build. I mean, look, we all build our business by either spending money on advertising or spending time networking. Now, how do you get the money to advertise? Well, you got to make the sale. How do you make the sale? Well, then you're going to spend time networking or cold calling. You're going to go out and do cold calling. So it's going to take time or money either way. And I would much rather put in the time meeting people and getting to know them so that they trust me and refer me. And look, of our 76 countries, 74 started from a referral. 74. Somebody referred somebody who said, hey, come to my, you're in my country, come to this networking thing, take a look at this. And so almost all of them started through a referral. That's how I grew the organization. One started because they read one of my books. And one started because they got on the internet just looking for networking organizations and found us. Otherwise, they were all referrals. And so referrals work, but it takes time.
That's so true, yeah. And if you wanted to go either the 76 countries, go to the BNI website, go there, see all those countries, and just join. If you have chapter near you in your local area, just join to BNI organization and start doing referral. Start doing networking.
Start building relationships.
Yeah, start building relationships. Either that we are in online hybrid models, such as you can go and if you want an international market, you can connect whenever you want to in any country where BNI is.
Right. And one of the advantages of having hybrid chapters and online chapters is it's really easy for you in whatever country you're in to visit a BNI group in other countries, because many of them, 32% of our organization meets online, either full-time or part-time online. And so there aren't that many places where you can do that. You can't do that on LinkedIn and connect with a whole bunch of people at one time easily. But you can do that in BNI. We also have an online platform where you can network with people. It's called BNI Connect. And so our members worldwide connect with each other on BNI Connect, which is sort of a walled garden. Only BNI members can participate in it.
And all my business as a digital marketing coach and host is online. And thankful to online technology, I connected with people in BNI, and I'm here today with you to host you for the third time. That's
third
amazing.
Time.
Third time.
Outstanding.
It's really, I really appreciate, and I'm super happy to have you today to talk about BNI and all those kind of things. So, and what I have one last question about referral. What are the most common mistakes businesses make when trying to implement referral marketing?
Well, the first one I mentioned briefly, and that is they use networking as a face-to-face cold calling opportunity. Hi, my name's Ivan. Let's do business. And you just jump right into trying to do business with somebody else. A second one is going to be interesting in that a lot of people think that extroverts are better networkers, and that's not necessarily true. And the short answer to your question is it's very important to be more interested than interesting. So extroverts have no problem meeting people, and they love to talk. But what's their favorite subject? Themselves, right? Introverts maybe have a difficult time meeting people, but they're really good at listening. And that, I believe, makes a more powerful networker. A great networker has two ears and one mouth and uses them both proportionately. There's like an interviewer. Christina, you're asking me questions and you're giving me time to elaborate. Well, I think that's a mistake that a lot of networkers make, particularly the extroverts, is that they're so busy talking about themselves that they're not asking questions. They're not allowing the other person to talk. And I think that's a huge mistake. I also think, lastly, that you can treat it like a sprint by going to one networking group after another networking group after another network, but not, your network is a mile wide, but an inch deep. What you need is a network that is wide, but also deep in some areas where you really spend time getting to know the people that are in your network. And so those are some of the mistakes that.
And that takes time.
Yeah,
as
it
you
takes
mentioned
time.
before, because you cannot go as a sprint, go there, go this, go there, go this, and that network. And after that, it's so you needed people to get to know you and
it's
connect
superficial.
the right people.
Yeah.
That's so thank you for sharing that, And I have one segment, also a few questions is about getting clients through that referral marketing, through like what the members in BNI and in general. And my first question is, what strategies do you recommend for consistently attracting new clients? This is maybe.
Okay, so I'll give you a couple of answers to that. One is big theme, strategic, and then I'll give a couple of things to think about for tactics. Strategically, I think it's really important for people to understand that if you want to be successful, you have to do 6 things 1,000 times, not 1,000 things 6 times. And I see entrepreneurs and salespeople doing 1,000 things 6 times and not understanding why. They don't understand why it's not working. Well, it works when you do things consistently. And, and by the way, it doesn't have to be 6, it could be 5, it could be 7, but you're doing a handful of things and you're doing them over and over and over again. Well, what 6 things? What 5 things? You go to shows like this and you listen to people who give you ideas. And you go, that's one of the things I need to be doing. You read books, you go to YouTube, you learn, you educate, you teach yourself. You have mentors. Sometimes they're a virtual mentor, like you are a virtual mentor for people by doing the show. Sometimes they're a virtual mentor, sometimes they're an in-person mentor. So you pick a handful of things and then you do it over and over and over and over and over again consistently. It's one of the reasons why we meet every week in BNI. People are like, does it have to be every week? Really? Every week? And so twice now, we've said, okay, well, let's test it. Let's do every other week. Let's do, twice a month instead of every week. And do you know, both times, 35 years apart, we tried it. We did it 40 years ago. We did it 5 years ago. Both times, the groups that met twice a month passed 52% less referrals than the groups that met every week. That's what I mean by doing 6 things 1,000 times. Meeting consistently, building relationships. That is an important part of it. So I said I'd give you a skill set. One of the skill set things that I think is important is to, as you go to networking meetings, take a look at the room and imagine that you've got a view from a balcony and you're looking down. And if you see people that are standing perpendicular to each other like this, it's almost impossible to break into that conversation. But if you see 2 people standing more like a V, then it's easy to kind of slip in and introduce yourself. If you've got 3 people and they're like a triangle, there's no place to slip in. But if you've got 3 people and they're standing like a U, then it's easy to slip in and talk. Now, there's 2 key points with this. If you are running a network, if you're a host, if you're the president or the chairperson of a network, teach your members to always stand in open 2s, open 3s, open groups. Teach your members to do that because you want the visitors to feel that it's easy to strike up a conversation with somebody. And so the open 2, open 3, open group concept is a tactic that you can employ. And again, it's simple, but sometimes people forget it when they walk into the room. The other thing is you got to do one-to-ones. That's the last one, and then I'll take your next question. You have to do one-to-ones where you sit down with somebody for an hour and you go deep and learn about them, and they learn about you. We had a BNI member who did a research study in Europe on one-to-ones in a region of BNI, and they found that they compared people who did one-to-one a month compared to people who did 4 one-to-ones a month. Okay, so 1 a week, one a month versus 1 a week, right? The people who did 4 one-to-ones, meeting in person over coffee or a drink or a meal or whatever, the people who did 4 one-to-ones a month gave 100% more referrals. But more importantly, they received 100% more referrals. So they doubled the amount of referrals that they got. So, I mean, that's a mindset and a couple of skill set things that would help your listeners, your viewers to understand how to network more effectively.
So, and this is so important to connect once per week, then twice per
with
month.
Somebody. Yeah. Once and go deep. Remember I said, if your network is a mile wide and an inch deep, it'll never be very strong. Well, this is how you go deep, is you know a lot of people, but you go deep with some of these relationships so that you get to know each other, trust each other, and refer each other.
Yes, that's so. And my next question is, what role does networking play in client acquisition, and how can it be done effectively?
Well, we've talked about some of the things that you can do to be effective at it. What I find interesting is a lot of people say, on one hand, they don't like networking, it makes them uncomfortable. And on the other hand, I did a survey of 12,000 people. I published it in a book years ago, almost 10 years ago. And 91.4% of the 12,000 people said that networking has played a role in their success. When have you ever seen 91% of any group of people agree to anything ever? Yet and this wasn't just a BNI survey, it was open to the public. So yeah, networking, sometimes we feel uncomfortable with it, but when 91% of 12,000 people say it's played a role in their success, then you should pay attention. If you're watching this, you should pay attention. You should be practicing this skill because the overwhelming majority of business people recognize the power of relationship networking.
Yes, and in that relationship, we're just still like the family, because when you know someone for many years, in either that
Yeah.
you're in BNI and people know to get to know each other deeper and deeper, and local level, global level, however.
Right.
And my question, the other is, how important is personal branding when it comes to getting clients? How would it about personal branding in terms of getting clients and referrals? We can connect that like about the
Well, I think
people.
personal branding is extremely important. You can't build a relationship unless you um, are implementing some element of personal branding into what you do. Now, today with social media, it's like easier than ever. 41 years ago when I started BNI, personal branding was a lot harder, right? It was harder. It was meeting in person and it was brochures and whatnot. But today with social media, it's easier and easier. My advice on the personal branding, and anyone can go to I'm on all the social media sites, Instagram, Facebook is probably my big. I think I have 470,000 followers on Facebook. So that's you go there to take a look at what I'm about to tell you. With social media, and this isn't my concept, it was somebody wrote about this, and I'm sharing it. It's jab, 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 punch. Jab, 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 punch. And by that, they mean educate, 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 sell. Educate, 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 sell. And if you look at my social media, you're going to see at least 3 or 4, maybe 5 posts in a row that are educate, educate, educate. For example, we're going to put a link up. When you put this online, a week or 2 down the road, my team will put this link up on my social media and say, hey, listen to Ivan and Christina. They did a 1-hour interview and they talked about all these different things. And, go check it out. That's educate, 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 educate. And then after a handful of those, I'm going to say, hey, my book's on sale at such and such, location. Go check it out, or it's on Kindle, or something like that. So that's the way you build a personal brand, is through educating people. And then you get people to follow you because they're interested.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing that, because people, it's like never before. It's easy to promote yourself and to put something, but we really need to educate ourselves, and every day we
And,
need to learn something.
yeah,
Either
and educate other people. I mean, why would someone follow you if you're not giving them tangible information?
or value,
Now,
how we can say it.
value, they got to get value. Now I'm going to go the opposite direction a little bit. Sometimes you want to put in some personal stuff. Like, I have beehives on my property. Okay, I've got about 10 acres. And so I've got some beehives, beautiful cathedral-like beehives, man-made beehives. And so I will do a video every now and then of my bees. And I'll put it, it has no educational value. It has no sales value. I'm not selling bees. I'm not even selling the honey. I give the honey away. So I'm not selling anything, but people go, oh, isn't that interesting? He has a beehive or several beehives. Or I'll take a walk. I've got a 1/4 mile walking path on my property, and I'll just take a walk on my trail. And I'll take photographs of the deer, or sometimes there's a venomous snake that I'll take a photograph of and I'll post it. It has nothing to do with business, but it's personal. And the words you used was personal branding. Well, personal branding means sometimes you need to be personal, not too personal. Don't get on there and cry the blues about, about your life. And don't, and people argue with me on this, don't get political. I think it's a huge mistake for business people to get political in networking. Now, I have a bachelor's degree in political science. I follow politics, but you don't know what my position is. None of the members know what my position is. I don't think that as the founder of this company, I have any right to tell you how to vote or to tell anybody how to vote. And so I don't talk politics. And I urge people, don't get involved in controversial stuff. If you really want to have a broad cross section of personal branding, keep it to yourself. Do it, be engaged in it, but don't put it out on your public information. That's my advice.
Yeah, very, very important advice. And before we ramp up our interview today, I know that you have your series of founders education. That's
Yes.
so good. You remind me that just to mention that I know that it's on Tuesday. I'm not my time here.
Yeah, about once a month. About once a month.
And I want just to invite people to it. I can put the links, whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
People can.
We have the recordings. They're public. Now some of them are BNI centric. Some of them are not. Like, I talk about leadership. That's not BNI centric. When I talk about now, even if I talk about networking, I generally talk about networking in general terms, like I have here with you. So I'll mention BNI, but almost all the topics that I put up there are valuable for the average business person, not just a BNI member.
I would love to have you again talk about leadership and after conference in Sydney. So that will be great to connect with. We show a lot of success in connection and conference there with BNI members from all around the world.
All around the world.
All around the world. Dr. Misner, Dr. Arvin, do you have any kind for our message for audience before we close our call today?
Yeah, I think that it's important for people to recognize that their network is a beacon of hope in a sea of fear, that we live in a crazy world. But your network is a beacon of hope. They are people who are there to help you get through challenging times. And it's one of the reasons why I love our principal core value of giver's gain. Giver's gain to me is more than a phrase. It's a way of living one's life. It's a perspective to view and interact with the world. It's an attitude, not an expectation. And when it's applied properly, it'll change your life. And when it changes enough lives, it'll change the world. And that's what we're trying to do in BNIs, change the way the world does business.
Dr. Misner, thank you so very much for having you today. It was such a pleasure having you, like as always, and I'm always happy to have you as a special guest speaker. So I will have you again maybe to the end of this year. Thank you so much, and have a lovely day, and regards to your team in BNI. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you so much.